Are you a thoughtful leader? Maybe you are. Maybe you think you are. Let's find out. I'm Mindy Gibbins-Klein. I'm author of The Thoughtful Leader and host of the Thoughtful Leader podcast. Thoughtful leadership is all about thought leadership that goes above and beyond. Thought leadership that is truly new and original, exciting, disruptive, maybe even groundbreaking. Because let's face it, we need to raise the bar. My guests and I are absolutely obsessed with finding truly original thought leadership, and I'm going to bring you so many exciting ideas and opportunities, things for you to think about, and chances for you to push your thinking that you'll be very glad you tuned in. So thanks so much for checking out Thoughtful Leadership and the Thoughtful Leader podcast. I look forward to connecting with you very, very soon. So where do ideas come from? Well, everyone has different sources, so I don't know if I can answer this for you, but I think the more important thing is when you have ideas coming at you, or you recognize that you're having lots of ideas, it's what to do about them, to have some kind of process to sift through the ideas and figure out if you're going to take action and what action and how are you going to remember. Because I have had so many times where I've had a brilliant idea in the shower or when I'm just waking up and I'm kind of half asleep or when I'm driving and I haven't been able to capture that idea. And I think, well, that's okay because I'll remember later. And then, of course, I don't. And I think, no, for sure, this is such an amazing idea. Of course, I'm going to remember it, but then I don't. So I don't know if that's ever happened to you. In my opinion, you want to have, if you don't have your phone with you, you may not have your phone with you in the shower. Maybe you'll have to stop the shower, dry your hands, and write something down, or just start talking to yourself, repeat it over and over and over. If you're in bed, you can have, I don't know if you have your phone in the bedroom. I don't tend to. So I have a little notepad and a pen. And it's rare, actually, that something wakes me up and I feel I have to write it down there and then. But you just never know. And if you're out and about and, you can have a little notebook or write it in your iPad or notes. This way you stand a chance to do something with that idea. So let me actually answer the question. I just wanted to make sure that I captured this idea before it went somewhere. But where are these ideas going to come from? And is it possible to put yourself into the right state so that you have more ideas or better ideas or both? More ideas and better ideas? I would say yes. Of course I would. That's what half of the Thoughtful Leader is about getting yourself into the right state so that you have the best chance to come up with your best ideas. Now, I've just used the phrase, your best ideas. There are certainly times when it's a collaboration and these ideas don't just belong to you. And some people would argue that they don't belong to you anyway. It's kind of part of the collective unconscious. So I think I've spoken about this once or twice. It's something that we don't necessarily understand. If you all of a sudden have an idea pop into your head, can you figure out why you had that idea? If you're a creative person, I do tend to consider myself creative. You think that you are unique and you're coming up with something very, very original and it's never been thought of before. But that's probably not true. It's probably similar or based on or even the same as another idea. And there are people who say that when one person has an idea, many other people do at the same time. There's the famous story about the monkeys washing potatoes in the ocean. You may know it. And it's an island where these monkeys obviously have never left the island. It's hundreds of miles from other islands. And they get this idea that they can wash the potatoes and that way they can eat potatoes that are not dirty. And it transpires that on another island or several islands, hundreds of miles apart, monkeys had the same idea around the same time and started doing the same thing. What does this have to do with you? Well, firstly, it should make you smile, because if you have a monkey brain like I have, or a monkey personality, it's just fun to think about monkeys. But the main thing that I wanted to do was get you to ask yourself if your idea is truly unique. And does it matter? Because apparently 8 people on planet Earth are given the same idea at the same time. Another gem that I read somewhere. But it depends who acts on it. So if you have the most fantastic idea, but you sit there and try to perfect it and doubt yourself and waste a lot of time being too thoughtful, because you can be too thoughtful or you can think too long about something, it could be that someone else will act on that idea first. And then you think, wait a minute, that was my idea. Was it? Was it really your idea? These things are really fun to think about. And I guess the other concept before I move on, something that I want you to consider, is how many ideas do you actually need? Perhaps you just need one idea, one solution, something to get your business out of a slump, something that will make your family a lot more comfortable, something that will help you move to the next level in work or in business. You don't need hundreds of ideas. We often think we need more and more and more ideas. But I don't know if you've experienced the kind of overwhelm that comes from many, many ideas. This happens when you post something on social media and you ask people for their opinions. Well, you've asked. And if you start getting hundreds of responses, what about this? What about that? And you're the kind of person who feels that you need to read all of those and acknowledge them, respond, and hopefully not take them on board. But, some people really feel guilty when they get ideas and they don't use them. Then you're going to cause yourself a lot of stress. I don't know if this resonates. This is something that I think has got worse in modern society. And the reason is, well, several reasons, but the main reason is because we have things like social media and you are in contact with thousands of people at the same time. Before the internet, that never would have happened. So you might have had other ways to get yourself overwhelmed, but not this. You know what I mean? And also, if you get people and they're very opinionated and they're trying to shove their opinion down your throat, that's not really an idea. That's some kind of coercion. That's in some cases bullying. In some cases, blackmail. We don't need to get into all the different ways in which people can negatively influence you. But just step back for a moment. I mean, you're listening to this podcast, so that's great. Hopefully you're not multitasking and you're just sitting and listening or maybe driving. And there's some space to just relax, take a deep breath. In fact, I need one, so take one with me. Yeah, I tend to get very excited, talk too fast, and not always breathe enough. So yeah, my voice teacher will be very proud of me right now. Right. Can you actually separate yourself from the noise? Can you? Firstly, the next time you're tempted to go ask your tribe about something that maybe only you can decide, remember this question. Do you really need everyone else's opinion? I don't have the answer, by the way. I'm just giving you a question that if you notice, oh, hang on a minute, I doubt myself and therefore I trust, my network more than myself. Maybe you do, or maybe you're just conditioned to do that, or you think it would be nice and inclusive to ask everybody for their opinions and their ideas. Do you really need to? That's the question. I would love to hear about that experience the next time you're tempted to do that, and you stop yourself and you maybe just ask one friend or a mentor or your partner, or just ask your heart, or sit with it. Well, that's the same thing as asking your heart, I think. So that's how we get ourselves into a bit of a situation with so many ideas and opinions just landing on us. There's no other way I can describe it. I picture birds flying and dropping their ideas on you. It's not a very nice thing, and you've got to kind of scrub it off, if you know what I mean. So, having all these ideas landing on you, it's not always that easy to deal with. Now, we're talking about where these ideas come from. So this is one place, which is, you've requested them. But what about your best ideas? If you're in business, where did your idea come from? Can you actually remember the first time you had the thought about it? I'm going to tell you a little story that you may know and you may not. I have told it a few times, but perhaps you didn't hear that episode. When I created the Book Midwife, which is our book coaching company, I was running a coaching company and coaching on lots of things, life coaching, business coaching. And yes, there were some authors who wanted to write or publish books, but I hadn't specialized in books at that point. And then I realized that the work that I was doing with books was very frustrating because I was often getting involved in the book long after the concept had been done, many times after the book had already been written. And I just had an insight. It came from frustration, actually. It came from a very serious frustration with a book that I thought could have been better. And the thought that was in my head was, I wish I had been involved right from the start, because that's my skill set. My skill set is around concept planning, frameworking, structure, kicking things off in a powerful and professional way, and setting things up for success. I'm into process, I'm into systems. And many people, when they write books, are not thinking process and systems and framework. I'll just leave that thought there. But it was so vivid when that thought occurred to me that I knew I had to pivot. This is before we used to use the word all the time. I had to transform the business to only focus on books and start with clients at the concept stage or conception, hence the Book Midwife. What about you? Do you have your business concept? Where did it come from? Are you clear about that? Could you replicate that scenario? I mean, I'm trying to think what I would replicate if I wanted to start another business. Perhaps I would just ask myself, where do I feel frustrated with certain things in my life or business? What's frustrating? That's actually not a bad idea. That's the grit that forms the pearl in the oyster. That grit, without it, the oyster would just sit there happily, but it secretes its whatever. I don't know the technical name for it, but when there's a piece of grit, it works to deal with that grit because it's frustrating, it's irritating. And then it forms the pearl. And then the grit is hidden. The grit has gone away and there's something beautiful. So I don't love metaphors, as you may know. But I think if you picture yourself allowing the grit to do its thing and allowing your response to show itself, then you could, in fact, put yourself into that state of, what is irritating, not only what is irritating, but what can I do about it? That's the magic. I really, really like coming up with solutions. As I say, I consider myself to be a creative. And the challenge with that is I have lots and lots and lots of ideas all the time. I had the idea, if you're watching the video, you'll think, what is that background? Because I've never used it before. And I may never use it again because it's doing something funky at the bottom there. What is that? If you're listening, you'll think, what is she talking about? So yeah, watch the video on the Thoughtful Leader podcast, the YouTube channel. I just wanted something different. I thought, I want something beautiful today. It happens to be a gray day. It's usually a gray day in the UK. Doesn't bother me, but I just thought, what can I do to make myself smile, but make others smile? And that was the catalyst. And I'm having my tea in a cup that I don't normally use, and I'm just trying to shake things up again. If you want to see the cup, if you're watching the video, lucky you. Here's the cup. Well, you can't really see. There's a lot of green in it, so that's not going to work. It has some flowers on it. I just like to do creative things. And for me, this is just how I do it. I think, okay, how could I do this a bit differently? Or how can I shake things up a bit? Not too much. I have a lot of things in my life that work. So I don't want to shake everything up. But I think just being open to that and asking the question, if you ask the right questions, you will get the right answers, or you will get answers that are more helpful. So my questions tend to revolve around, what else is one of my favorite phrases. Anytime I think of anything, I say, what else? And so I'm going to end on this a thought, which is also in the Thoughtful Leader book. I don't know if you've read it. Now might be a good time to go get one. The audiobook has me narrating it. And if you don't like audiobooks, there's ebook versions and paperback. But this what else, it is there for all of us. And it's amazing how many times we just settle for the first thought or the first idea that comes up. And if you say what else, you are proactively seeking more ideas. And you're seeking them from, if you're asking yourself, you're seeking it from inside yourself. If you're asking in a group, if it's some kind of brainstorming session, then what else? Encourages people to go beyond the obvious. And I think that's so important. This society of ours, it's challenging enough. We have a lot of, reasons why we need to move through stuff quickly. We see the next thing waiting. We don't give a lot of time to any one decision or any one activity. I'm generalizing, of course. But when you do that, and when you feel the pressure and you can't really think, because you need to take a deep breath and you need to give yourself some time and space, you can't have it all. So you cannot do 100 things and do each one thoroughly and thoughtfully. But you know what? You can. I don't know how long it's going to take. Most of the time, what's required is to sit with something important. If you have a really important decision to make, or you need to come up with a bright idea for a marketing campaign or a book, there are people who can help, of course, anything. To sit with it and maybe a piece of paper and a pen or your iPad or something and just ask what else? Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what else? And really push. And when I say push, I don't mean stressing yourself out. I mean push beyond the obvious. It's like pushing a heavy door sometimes. But when it moves, you think, oh, great. Yeah, it was open. It wasn't locked. And neither is your subconscious. Okay, before I get too metaphysical here, I'm just going to summarize what I've been talking about, because I do believe that you will benefit from having more ideas and better ideas. And in turn, when you share those ideas, then the world benefits. Your stakeholders, your clients, your family, whoever is affected by what you do. So is it worth it to spend time on your ideas, to figure out where the good ones come from? And can you replicate that process? And can you get into that mode or that state more often? And how to sift through all the hundreds and thousands of ideas that land on you on a daily basis. Oh my gosh, you really need to be listening out for, you need to be listening out for what you're listening to. You need to figure out what and who you're allowing to influence you. That's another whole session. I think I'll spend another episode on that because it's really, really important. And most of us forget that we have the remote control. We can decide what we watch, what we listen to, who we listen to, and what we allow to influence us. But that's for another day. Right now, I just want you to be happy and excited that you're human, that you have ideas that you can articulate with language, that you have a conscious brain that you can use to analyze ideas and to delve deeply into that creative part of your brain and to really come up with the best solutions for things. You have that. And if you don't feel very creative at the moment and you've been allowing yourself to get inundated or landed on and maybe frustrated, use that as a catalyst and see how you can carve out the time and space to do some of this stuff and do it consciously. This is my passion, of course. I spend all my time on this in one way or another. All of my businesses are focused around being thoughtful and creating leaders who are more thoughtful. And if you ever want to have a chat, just find me. I know I'm fond of saying that, but I mean it. Find me. We will have a chat. And hopefully within a few minutes, you'll be able to tap back into that part of you that it has always been there and is still there. So I hope you have some sense of what you're capable of in terms of idea generation, but also feeling great about the ideas that you bring out into the world. And I'm happy that you're here. I'm very, very happy to have a chat with you today. And we'll see you again. Please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And we'll definitely see you again very soon. Take care. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Thoughtful Leader. And I hope it's inspired you to be more thoughtful as a leader in your business. Please consider subscribing and leaving a review. An important question for you. Do you want to create a culture of thought leadership in your organization? My best-selling book, The Thoughtful Leader, is available now on Amazon and many other sites in paperback, ebook, and audiobook formats. Please visit www.mindygk.com for more great content. That's www.mindygk.com. Speak to you again soon.